Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, the 3 Topics Gamer, here to share with you another one of my worst to best tier ranking videos. It's been about 2 weeks since I uploaded the last one, and since pretty much I've been bored here at the apartment, I decided just to film another one and post it up and see what becomes of it. Now, this time I'll be doing a ranking of all of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist characters, since I am an old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, and since the first gen is obviously where I shine the most, I figure I would just do a ranking and pretty much share where I would stand and place all the duelists and characters. Now, before I start with this ranking video, I would just like to ask you guys to know that if you enjoyed this video by the end, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to help grow the channel, because every subscription counts. Now, as we actually go into ranking a number of these characters, are rather extensive, as you can see here. There are a lot of characters, and some of them I don't even know their names, some of them don't even duel, so we might as well get the just awful duelists out of the way, as long as characters that we don't even see duel, because it is quite extensive. So let's start off with Tristan Taylor. He is an absolutely awful duelist. Awful. You would think with as many duels as he's watched between Yugi and Joey, and heck, even Kaiba in some sense, you would think he would at least have a much better understanding of the basics of the game. But he doesn't. His one and only duel, he gets 0 offense and loses his body. So, yeah. Next, Mako. Awful duelist. Has to steal someone else's deck and then isn't very good at it. I think someone's like 2 monsters before he decides to cheat. Awful. Shade, we don't ever see him duel. Dr. Hawkins, we never see him duel. Don't even know who that is. Don't know who that is, but they hang out with Bones. He's not even using his own deck. He's using Kaiba's deck, so it doesn't count. Strings isn't really a duelist on his own because he's being controlled by Marik. I don't know who that is. Don't know who that is. Don't know who that is. All these characters show up in I think the second tournament that Kaiba throws. Don't know who that is. 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 Anubis, but he plays like 3 cards in the film, so I don't really think that counts. The duelist machine that was programmed to lose. Don't know who that is. This guy, the bully from Battle City. Wow, the person who loses in 1 turn. Somehow. Don't know who that rare hunter is. That guy just quits. Anybody else? Anybody? I think everyone left at least duels at least once. Okay. Alright, yeah, I think that just about does it. Okay, now let's go into the D rank. Now, right off the bat, as I'm looking at this D rank, easily, I'm going to have to go with Loomis and Umbra, both versions of them, because the problem I have with these two as duelists is they may be a solid tag team, but as individuals, they're probably not very good, and that's a problem. I think, if you need to be a solid duelist in this game, you need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, and these two literally cannot do that. And that also applies to the Paradox Brothers. They do not know how to duel on their own, and I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as a tag team division in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or at least I've never heard of a tag team division. Let's see, who else belongs in the D rank? Definitely a number of the big 5. Let's see. Grump, I think that's his name, with the penguin, not very good. Johnson has to cheat, so he's not very good. Marik, oh lord, Marik Ishtar, or normal Marik Ishtar. My god, you lose. You only see him duel once with him using Slide for the Sky Dragon, and his entire strategy backfires because of 1 card. That is just awful. The one time he duels with an Egyptian god card, he actually loses. So he's not very good. I don't remember what this woman's name, but she won a date with Yugi, and you don't even see most of the duel, but she's just not very good. Bones cannot do anything on his own and is an awful duelist and gets completely embarrassed with Bakura in his second duel. Believe it or not, I was thinking about putting Serenity, but you know what? Surprisingly, Serenity actually holds her own, but she's She's not that good of a duelist. I probably will put her at the top of the D tier, probably. Let's see who else. Yeah, yeah. I don't even remember your name, but you weren't very good. Made a lot of dumb decisions. Do, 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 do. Okay, looking through, looking through. Okay, oh, I forgot one. Oh, this Bakura, normal Bakura. You never see him duel. It's only evil Bakura that we see duel. Rare Hunter is using Exodia, but he has to cheat. But, I mean, at least he kind of knows what he's doing, but he is cheating, so there is that. Gozoboro, not very good. Even though he summons Exodia Necros, he gets beaten pretty easily. Panic, not that very good. I mean, he uses scare tactics. Once he takes on real duels with balls, then not. I don't mean like like not just physically, but like a real duelist. Because I'm sure Mai was having a bad day. Because I'm sure she's better than that. But Panic's not all that great. And let's see anybody else. Esperosa, again, another character that has to cheat. You're gonna lose some serious points if you have to cheat just to get your success. And see anybody else. I think that does it with the D. Well, yeah, I think that's good for D rank. There's a lot of just not very good duelists, and then duelists that just aren't that great or have to cheat in order to get where they want. Okay, let's go to the C tier. C tier is actually pretty balanced. I would easily put Weevil and Rex in C tier. They're not very great duelists, but at least they know what they're doing. I actually would put Rex over Weevil, because Weevil has to cheat and gets his ass kicked by not only Yugi and Joey, but my god, that ass whooping he got in his second duel with Yugi was legendary. Seeing Yami go off, I mean, that was satisfying in both English dub and Japanese. I love both versions. Taya is not very good, but she at least is better than Trista and Serenity. At least she knows what she's doing and can actually win a duel on her own. So I'll give her a lot of credit for that. Grandpa, you don't see him duel too often, but despite the fact that he's supposed to be trained Yugi, it's clear that Yugi is a much better duelist. Duke, you only see him duel twice, and I think he holds his own despite the fact. I actually thought his first duel with Joey was impressive because they were both using just completely random built decks that were made at the moment, and he was still able to beat Joey. So I thought that was nice, and he kind of holds his own in his second duel against Nesbit, who's a member of the Big Five. And speaking of the Big Five, I actually think Nesbit was actually undoubtedly the best duelist out of the Big Five. He takes on 3 duelists at once and manages to really dominate that duel. Really hold his own. A lot of really nice moves. And he only loses because of a technicality and the structure that those duels were made using the deck master system. So, and I'm actually going to put Lecter behind him. Lecter is actually pretty competent in both his duels. But Nesbit is undoubtedly the best duelist out of the 5. However, you could say that's only because he's taking on duelists that aren't that great in the form of Duke, Tristan, and Serenity. But I still found that duel very, very entertaining. Who else would I put? Mako is another gimmicky duelist. Not bad, but not great either. Arcane is another gimmicky duelist, but I really like how well he did against Yugi's Dark Magician. I absolutely love the sequence where Atem and Arcana have their Dark Magicians out, and they've got 4 cards face down, and they're just bouncing off each other back and forth. I found that very, very entertaining. You know who else I'm going to put in D tier? I'm going to put Iori Calco's duels. I don't even remember I don't even think he was given a name, but he manages to use Obelisk the Tormentor and gets it taken down in a pretty spectacular fashion. Really enjoyed seeing that. Okay, Shizu Ishtar. Problem with Shizu, I mean, I'd put her probably in the middle. She probably knows how to duel. What the problem is that she uses her Millennium Necklace, so she ostensibly cheats. So if you have to cheat while using your Millennium item, I think that's I frown upon that just a little bit in some characters. I mean, trust me, there's some characters that, I mean, I think everybody who has a Millennium item does use it in a duel in some sense, but I think a Shizu is sure the fact that she has to actively look into the future and knows what you're going to do is a little bit just, and I frown upon that just a little bit. Rebecca Hawkins, I think she's pretty competent, however, and she does beat Yugi. I'm going to talk more about that later on when we actually get to Yugi's place. Let's see, Bandit Keith, another gimmicky duelist, not good. And he was the regional champion, but he does lose to Joey. I don't even remember your name, but all the duels that he was in were actually pretty decent. Akami, another odd duelist from the film. He uses dimension summoning. Has a lot of really OP cards, but loses to Little Yugi's, or technically, I'm not gonna call him Little Yugi because he's like Big Yugi now. Who else would I put in C tier? I would probably put Alistair C tier. Pretty competent duelist, but not that much of a threat. And I forget his name, but his duel of Joey was really interesting. It was like a lot of like armor pieces that he would actually wear. Really, one of the more, I think his duel really stands out. But yeah. Okay, now that I look at who's left, I think that's all for C tier. Everyone left is actually either pretty solid or really good. Okay, first in B tier, I would definitely put My Valentine. My Valentine is a very good duelist. The problem is, I think she has a bit of an ego problem. I take points away from. I mean, when you look at offer duels, I do take points away from her because she cheats because she's using perfume in her first duel. Her second duel, she loses to Panic, but we never actually see what happens. She only really gets the upper hand against Atem in the semifinals because Yugi's holding him back, and then when you see Mai again. She apparently wins enough duels to get into the Battle City finals, so that's an accomplishment by her on her own. And I would say she actually does really good against Marik. Really good. I think the problem, I mean, there's a universal problem with people that duel Marik that all but like one or two duels actually do against Marik. But I would honestly say that in terms of actual strategies in strategic planning, I'd say Mai is actually pretty good. I don't see her as like a top tier duelist, but I think I could easily see her winning a lot of mid tier tournaments. Nothing too high, but she's definitely a duelist you certainly don't want to underestimate. Who else would I put in B tier? I would put Noah. Noah was actually pretty good. Manages to kind of beat Kaiba almost, and then is pretty dominant against Atem. And really, the only reason Noah loses is because Atem pulls one of his classic moves where he literally pulls out a knockout punch in the last turn before he loses. But that's classic Atem for you. But from what I saw, he's actually pretty good, and he does have a little bit of an honor system. In terms of he doesn't like to cheat. I mean, he duels psychologically. He likes to psychologically torture his opponents in terms of Kaiba. But I actually thought he was pretty decent. Who else? Odeon. He is a little bit of I thought his duel with Joey was pretty good. It was all going well until Joey pulled out Jinzo. Jinzo has caused a lot of problems for a lot of people, and he is a result of that. And you know what? I'm actually going to put... Who else? This guy. I forget his name, but... I think the one duel he was in Joey, I think he took advantage of Joey's weaknesses and just of using a deck that's built upon luck. But I thought he held his own pretty well against Kaiba, and anyone that can do that is definitely absolutely knows what they're doing. Is definitely above average. Who else? Okay, so far there's only I'm looking at the duels that are here. There's only a few that. There's some that I would put. Okay, I think the ultimate B duelist is probably Joey. Joey is he's definitely above average. Probably is a much more competent duelist. Wins a lot of knows how to win. And if you think about it, if he actually was one attack away from beating Marik, surprised the hell out of me how well he did. And if that had been a straight up duel, taking the Shadow Realm out of the equation, he would have beaten Marik. That is incredible. That is without question one of Joey's probably best performances as a duelist, without question. And he has a lot of really great duels, but he doesn't have any like top level wins. But he absolutely could at least provide a good challenge against the absolute best that the show has to provide, and he does. He absolutely holds his own. There's a few characters that would just totally wipe the floor with him, but not many. Next, I'm going to go with Maximillion Pegasus. Pegasus is in the kind of same boat as someone like a Shizu, who ostensibly has to cheat because he's using his Millennium Eye so much to not only read your mind, read your strategies, and look at the cards in your hand. And there's only a small group of people who probably could beat him straight up. I mean, apparently he loses to Mai in the Waking the Dragons arc. But I think even without his eye, if he didn't need to cheat, because he's the creator, I think his skills would definitely make him a formidable duelist. I think he would absolutely take out the majority of duelists. I probably would put him higher than that. Who else? I'm going to put Marik. Here's the strange thing about Marik. The problem I have with, Yami Marik is he, despite having a really, really strong deck, he has this real sick obsession with torturing his opponents and then using their own arrogance against them. In the sense that most people who duel Marik focus entirely on trying to get his God card. Mai makes this mistake. She tries to get his Egyptian God card and cannot use it. Bakura does the exact same thing and ends up backfiring against him. It seems like when you are trying not to make the focus about his Egyptian God card, you can do pretty well. And he keeps using that stupid strategy of sending the Winged Dragon of Law to the graveyard and reviving it from the graveyard just for a knockout punch. And that is a really stupid strategy. In fact, it was because of that strategy that he ended up losing. And he keeps doing it over and over and over again instead of just focusing. He's a very, very good, competent duelist if he just focuses. He has the cards, he has the strategy, he has the mind to do it. But he is so much of a sadist that it really affects him. And it backfires on him almost every time. If he was doing all of his duels straight up, he would almost just about lose every single duel. So I think it's the fact that he has to use his shadow powers in order to give him an unfair advantage is the only reason he was ever as successful as he was. I mean, that's kind of where I would place him. And the only reason I wouldn't place him higher than Joey is because Joey really, I put him just kind of in the middle because at least I think he has a much better deck. I think the problem I have with Joey is that Joey has to rely too much on luck, and that has definitely helped him more times than not. So I'm kind of conflicted on where I would put him, whether ahead of Joey or behind him. But I think I'll put him behind Joey because Joey legitimately was about to beat him. Next, I'm going to go with Bakura, or Yami Bakura. I'm not sure if we ever find out what his real name is, but I'm going to put him probably there. He definitely gets better as the season goes along, and I think he's absolutely at his best at the end of the series. But he's just not. He's a competent duelist, but don't expect. And he could definitely challenge the upper tier, but I wouldn't put money on him to actually win most of them. I mean, he lost his first duel because his other side came in and took over and screwed him over, and then he loses. He beats Bones, but that's like a quick duel, and then he loses to Atem in the semifinals. In the quarterfinals, I should say, and then he loses. My God, his duel with Yami Marik was absolutely embarrassing. That was, without question, his worst duel. Like, he was talking all this smack, and he did not damage Marik once. And literally the moment in my eyes he lost the duel was when he decided to sacrifice the Winged Dragon of Ra. Now something had happened, like Marik had played a card that pretty much like stripped the Winged Dragon of Ra of its attack points before they could be used. And so what he ended up having was a monster that had 0 attack points, but I believe like 3,450 defense points. That is higher than like why, and he puts it in defense mode. So I don't know why he got rid of it. Like the second he did that, it was over. Like literally the entire duel. Marik never summons anything that could have taken that thing out. So I'm trying to figure out what he would have used. I mean, having just that monster behind you as a good wall of defense would have been really, really helpful. But it's like, oh, because it doesn't have an attack points, it's useless. Look, Labyrinth Wall and Millennium Shield don't have attack points at all. But when you have a defense that's like 3,000 or higher, that is a really, really powerful wall to protect you from direct attacks and will keep you in the game. So the fact that he made such a stupid decision really infuriated me. But I do think he did do pretty well against Kaiba, even though he decided to cut and run. And I believe his duel against Yugi is probably one of Yugi's best performances on his own without a Tem by his side. That is without question my favorite duel that Yugi on his own has ever taken part in. He really shows his real skills. And I think that is pretty much everybody in terms of the B tier. Now we get to the best of the best. Okay. Easily a member of the A club is Raphael. Raphael is an extremely good duelist. I absolutely love his Guardian deck. I like just how unified it is. I mean, he easily could win a number of world championships if a number of members stayed out of it. The fact that he delivers a Tem, really probably his worst defeat ever, I think both his duels for a Tem are absolutely epic duels. Absolutely love the setting for both of them. He probably is the best at using the Orichalcos in the most strategic way instead of an OP type of way. And then once he loses his Guardian Nyatos and then Guardian Dreadsight, I mean, that's when things really, really get serious. And he only loses because he gives up. I mean, I wouldn't say he gives up, but he kind of wipes himself out. So the fact that Tem never truly beat him and he beat himself, I have a lot of respect for that. So that's why I would play Raphael in the A tier. Next is darts. A lot of people feel that the Waking the Dragon arc is nothing but filler, but I think it's probably one of the best filler seasons of any series that I've ever seen. It is easily my second favorite arc behind the Battle City tournament, and darts is undoubtedly the toughest antagonist in the whole franchise. He is way more dangerous than Pegasus, Marik, or even Yami Bakura at the end. His deck is so OP. I mean, you gotta pull some OP levels of BS just to beat him. And I think his duel he has just so many incredibly OP cards that are just hard to take down. I mean, for God's sake, a Tem has to somehow pull an infinite attack strategy and then create something that can go beyond infinity. I mean, that is just nuts. That is just crazy. That's just nuts. But yeah, he's undoubtedly the most powerful, probably the best strategic, and without doubt, the best duel. He's undoubtedly the best duelist in the franchise, without question. Okay, we've only got 3 people left. Now, this is going to surprise some people. This might not surprise a lot of people, because I think most people would put these guys at the top tier, but I am actually going to put Yugi. I'm going to put Yugi as in the A tier. Absolutely. Yugi, he doesn't duel very often, but it's questionable how much influence he has when he and a Tem are dueling. It's kind of questionable. But I think the reason I like the Waking the Dragon arc the most is because you really get to see a Tem duel on his own, and I think those duels, since a lot of them are really, really good, I think those duels pretty much, at least in my eyes, kind of clarified that when the two of them are in one body dueling, it's undoubtedly Atem that's in the driver's seat. I think he probably has the much more strategic mind in their duels, and I think Yugi is more of the shotgun seater. But once he's on his own, he actually is an absolutely world champion quality duelist, and a lot of people consider the last duel between him and Atem as the greatest duelist in the series. I'm not sure I feel that way, and the reason I would not put him in the S tier is because out of any duelists and his duel for Atem, the reason I don't put it too highly is because in that duel, Yugi has an advantage that no other duelist has, and that is the sense that not only has he watched Atem duel for years, he intimately knows what cards he's going to use at any one time. Now, this is for anyone who didn't see the series at the end. It's revealed that Atem has the ability to draw any card he wants at any time, which kind of explains how he's able to pull these just dramatic moves or these one card move sets that have there's so many times throughout the entire series Atem manages to pull this random card that just logically does not make sense to be in his deck. Why would you put a card in your deck that really would only come into play once, and there's so many cards that he only ever uses once in the entire series. The problem is that Yugi used that against him because he instantly knew what Atem was going to do at a certain moment, and he used that against him, and no one else has an advantage. When you know someone that well, you can use that against them, especially if they can pull that card at any time. So I think that's the only just kind of small spot, the small stain I hold on his skills. But other than that, he's a very, very good duelist. I absolutely love his development. I love that by the end of the series, he very much kind of becomes his own man in his own duels and no longer needs to stand in Atem's shadow. He can stand on his own. And I think out of any character, he absolutely makes the most development. And that goes into the next A-tier duelist, and without question, my personal favorite duelist, and my favorite character in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is Seto Kaiba. Seto Kaiba, the ultimate rival of Atem, is the ultimate A duelist. He is absolutely a world championship quality duelist. He has my favorite card in the Blue Eyes. I love his approach to dueling. He's not like Joey who relies on luck. He relies on skill. And though he definitely has a number of losses, his win ratio is a lot more impressive than his losses. And his losses are very, very strategically placed. Yes, he can be a little bit arrogant, and he's kind of like an anti-hero, but the fact that he goes into most of his duels planning, I absolutely love that approach. I love that he has that drive. He's ultimately kind of like the Vegeta of the series, where he's always the rival to the main character, and he doesn't necessarily get the top wins, but he definitely can get some top level wins. Without question, the ultimate what if duel I would love to see is a duel between him and Yami Marik in Battle City. I absolutely believe that Marik is... I honestly do not believe Yugi could have beaten Marik. Not in that duel. I absolutely believe that with his preparation, the fact that he'd been playing this for so long, had he taken Atem down in their duel, he absolutely would have gone on and beaten Marik. I mean, if Joey could get that close, where he's one attack away from beating Marik, there's no question Kaiba would have taken Marik down. And that is the ultimate dream duel that I would have wished to have seen in the series. And she's just an overall just badass character. But there can only be one king of the mountain, one king of games, and only one S-tier duelist, and that is, of course, Atem. He's the main... You have to put him at the top. I mean, he's an icon. He's the main character of the series. He's the king of games. He has he takes in all the main antagonists. He's the pharaoh. And there's nothing too negative about him. Yes, he has some losses and he has his own amount of development, but I mean, he is just an overall just master duelist. I mean, everyone below him there's a number of people who could certainly challenge him and push him to his limits, but overall, if I had to say who I think would probably come out of these duels, probably decisively, it would be him, and that's the only character that I have the most confidence in, and that is why he has kind of. Okay, I'm real sorry about that, folks. My recorder stopped, so I had to stop it and restart it. But going back to Atem, I mean, there's just not enough good things that can be said about him. I mean, I think before the camera cut, I pretty much had said every reason why he is undoubtedly the only S-tier duelist on this list. And yeah, that is pretty much my ranking, my tier ranking of all the Yu-Gi-Oh characters. I cannot believe how long this video ended up being. So if you managed to make it to the end, congrats. Because I'm not sure how much I can do, because it's going to be crazy to edit. So that is my ranking of all of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists from the first generation. Now, if you want, you can share your own ranking. It's going to be probably pretty extensive in the comments down below. But heck, if you manage to pull it off, be sure I'm going to go over it. And I'll be sure to give you prompts depending on your ranking. So that is the end of my video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome. And I will see you next time.